Wonderful. So, yep, another about 4 minutes and we'll start. And I hope everyone enjoys. This is going to be really great. Thank you again to Ella for agreeing to do this. It means a lot to not only myself, but to the ALIA committee and to everyone who's joined in to have someone we're able to discuss this with, as I know this is a topic that I myself am very dedicated to, wanting to be able to bring libraries into the 21st century, not just through our communication, but through group participation of our audiences. So yeah, we're excited. Yeah. Yeah. Started soon. But yeah. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Oh. Yeah, I'm really chuffed to see just how many of you guys are signed up for this at just such short notice. So I know a lot of our workshops do go out months in advance, and this was kind of very, very quickly put together in just a couple of months. And yeah, Ella, again, being the rock star that she is, volunteering to help. This means so much.
No, it's so fun. Honestly, it's one of those things. Like when you spoke to me about it, I was like, hell yeah, like what a cool project.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm not sure how many of you guys will be joining us for all 3 workshops, just this one, 2 of them, but I really hope you guys join for all 3 because there's going to be hopefully some great learning and knowledge that will be here for everyone.
Absolutely. And also these are recorded as well. So if you do have life admin to do or something pops up, obviously feel free to join at any stage as well.
We will be putting these up on the ALIA Flickr, as well as I'll try to be organising a Queensland, ALIA Queensland YouTube, so we can have those there for everyone to be linked to. That way you can share these out afterwards. You can hopefully maybe give your own presentation to your teammates, and we'll just see how this goes moving forward.
Yeah.
Be great. So we're about 2 minutes out, so I might just get started with our acknowledgement of country, and then I will pass over to Ella to get started.
Excellent.
So I would like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of all the country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea and community. We pay respects to the elders of past and present and extend respect to all the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today and their claim on our lands and how they have participated in not only parts of our community, but also as caretakers and also facilitators of this beautiful land we call Australia.
Amazing, thank you.
No problem. So I'm going to pass over to Ella as she starts our wonderful workshop on debunking social media, and I do hope you all enjoy.
Thanks.
Welcome, Ella from Social Cut.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashley. So, hi, I'm Ella. I am the founder of Social Cut. I'll pop up my screen in a second. But essentially, what we're looking to do over these next 3 workshops is catch and advise about different ways to utilize social media within the libraries themselves, how to approach, your colleagues, so the marketing and PR teams at the council, and broadly speaking, pick the channels that work for you and your community, really. So my experience and my background in social media is really quite broad. I've worked across organisation, I've worked across small businesses, and I've also worked across government. So it's been a very long and interesting journey, and I've kind of landed here working at Social Cut. So I founded the agency about 6 years ago, and our team really work across community engagement and organic content. So we do some paid campaigns, which is more of the Facebook and Instagram ads, but our primary focus is engaging communities and using online tools to do that. So it's been a really exciting opportunity to work with Ashley and yourselves to actually look at how to do this as librarian, like a library association and the libraries themselves, because I imagine for a lot of you, that's the primary channel in terms of the digital aspect will be more that organic stuff rather than having a big paid budget. So hopefully out of this workshop, or these workshops, sorry, we are able to debunk a few social media challenges, work through some potentially communication challenges and making sure that your messages are being heard in the wider community, and also looking at which channels are best to leverage and how we can kind of help grow those channels and really deliver value to those communities as well. So I'll pop my screen up now and we'll start jumping through it. So this one, sorry, this screen here is just the welcome screen. We've basically just chatted through that. But we're looking at creating effective strategies for social media for libraries that align with the wider marketing. That's today's one, is the wider marketing and PR goals. So today's topic will be quite broad in that we're really trying to set the stage for what we need to do. And that is why we're going to have a bit of a chat together as well about what specifically is challenging you and how we can potentially look at overcoming them, so we can start to break those down in the future workshops as well, but also giving some tips and ideas for now at this point too. So jumping across, sorry, one second. So just a quick overview. So overall, we're looking at how to create plans and for libraries to use social media. Today's session, as I mentioned, is strategizing. We're creating an overall plan for social media use, how it fits into the rest of the library's marketing and PR goals, and broader council goals as well. And I guess potential barriers in navigating external influences. Our next session as well will be a further breakdown of the specific social media channels that you could be using, and hopefully from today we can come through if there's anything that I haven't included in this particular overview, and look at how we can use other channels. So at the moment we're looking at your Facebook, Instagram, potentially TikTok. I haven't touched on LinkedIn today, but if that is something that you would like to learn more about, or if that's something that you can see fitting into the wider goals, we can absolutely do that, because again, it is a really useful channel. Pinterest perhaps as well. We haven't really broken that down today either. However, again, if that's something that you guys would like to see, just let me know and we can include that too. And then looking at how to use best practice tips and tricks. So there is a bit of a strategy session today in how to create an overarching social media calendar and plan. But we will break that down further into, best practice posting times, where to use hashtags, all those sorts of things that you need to use day to day to get the reach out there for your audience, in session 2 as well. So we can, as I said, this is a very not fluid workshop, but it is one that I do want to have a bit of participation with you guys and really understand what is challenging you, so I can best give you the resources in the coming weeks. And session 3 will be primarily a hands-on workshop, which after session 2, you'll hopefully have the skills and tricks and tips, I suppose, to actually start building them out. So session 3 will be, once you've actually started sharing those, or you're starting to do them yourselves as well, having a chat like in this kind of forum style to understand what challenges you're facing then, and any questions and major issues you're having, being able to workshop them together so we can actually get it on the right track and basically walk away at the end of this with the skills, but also the understanding of how to actually build out that social media plan for whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or a year, so we can actually start to build further. So I'll jump on to the next one for us here. So we're kicking off with a nice big juicy one with overcoming barriers. So how to effectively communicate with the benefits of social media, to your decision makers within the organisation. So I do understand that being in various councils and various communities, there will be people that need to make decisions over how the libraries individually communicate outside of just your team, if that makes sense. So I know that there will be obviously the broader council, then there'll be the marketing team or a PR team that potentially is involved in this as well. So I guess the benefit of looking at how we can overcome these barriers and actually communicate directly with them is something that we need to obviously understand and uncover a little further, so that way when you are doing all the hard work of actually building out these social media strategies and doing things that work for you, your organisation, in your library and your community, they're actually being heard and they're not being overlooked as just another, oh, it's a fluffy nice to have, because that can be really frustrating when you put the time and effort and you know your community so well, and it kind of just gets swept under the rug because a new marketing strategy might come in. So I guess jumping off, and this is where I'd love to understand a bit more about what you're facing is, when you're approaching the team, it can be tricky. So obviously looking at benefits of how we can jump in and really make sure that we're getting heard and seen in these meetings and these conversations with the marketing and PR teams, I suppose, what have you guys experienced any barriers so far in terms of working with these teams? What are some of the issues that you guys are having? Would love to get some understanding on that. So if anyone would like to unmute themselves and jump on and I guess ask any questions or raise any issues that they've had in the past, I'd love to hear that. Otherwise, feel free to pop it in the chat box as well. And we can chat a bit further because I've got some tips on the next page, but I would obviously love to hear from your side of things. What are some of those barriers that you're experiencing, and I guess what pushbacks are you facing from the higher ups, if that makes sense, or higher ups, because obviously you guys know your audience really well, but the people externally that maybe you don't have as much sway over. And so if anyone would like to say anything, I would love to hear it.
Yeah. I'm new to the space, but I know that a lot of people have expressed frustrations of just being able to better communicate with the higher ups of government, or basically being able to have the freedom to be able to have library specific social medias. So
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that is a challenge. And I think it's hard when you're working in the space and, you know, you do the day-to-day work and you're there on the ground every single day and your messages aren't being heard by the right communities or by your community. And you're sort of having these decisions passed down from above you. So hopefully part of what we can do is formulate a plan of how we can approach those teams and work directly with them while still obviously fitting in with their marketing, PR agendas, government agendas, whatever it is that's happening at the time, finding a win-win for everyone, really. So has anyone else experienced any challenges so far, or, you know, have a bit of nervousness around approaching these conversations?
I would actually like to jump in and invite others to comment on their experience of this as well. Many of us work in libraries that are in one way or another, either governmental or at least bureaucratic. Yeah. And there are gatekeepers around all communications. I understand why that is, but I personally have experienced in libraries other than the library I'm working in now, actually, but have in the past experienced time difficulties around that. The timeliness of social media, the beauty of social media to me is that it has that sense of immediacy and is able to be kind of reactive and respond to and communicate on quite short timelines. Having sort of come across situations where, you know, putting a communication out in social media has to be submitted in writing a week before it's you know, broadcast and authorized by a committee before, sort of kills it for me. But I'd love to hear what others' experiences of that have been.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And I do understand that challenge. Even from a agency point of view, we still have that same experience from time to time with our clients, because obviously when we're submitting content, it needs approval before it can go live. So that timeliness is always a challenge in terms of working with other people when you can't make the entire decision yourself. So thank you so much for sharing that one. I can absolutely understand your frustration there. I've seen a couple of other ones in the chat here as well. Ashley, were you going to go ahead and read those out?
Yeah, of course. So we've got one from Michelle. I find that sometimes higher ups feel threatened by a specialist knowledge.
Yeah.
Is there a way to have a soft, non-threatening approach to developing social media campaigns to avoid friction?
Absolutely. And on my next slide as well, which I will share across, and obviously at the end of today's workshop as well, you all have a copy of the PDF, so you'll have some specific notes, but there can be, I guess one of the things I always try to do when I'm approaching people that maybe don't have a specialized knowledge, when you do, is the compliment sandwich to some degree. But definitely there is some ways of doing that, and that's kind of building out like a plan that acknowledges your specialist knowledge without detracting from their area knowledge or industry knowledge. So we can definitely look at how we'd approach those conversations together as well.
We also have one from Leanne. Working in a small remote library, a challenge I faced was not having any policies or guidelines in regards to social media use. which you can then run into issues for not having any clear rules and not having any cohesiveness between staff using library social medias.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And this was something that Ashley and I have been talking about as well, is how do we find a set of guidelines that's almost industry standard to suggest as either best practice guidelines or to fit into policy. And Ashley and I are working on that as well to kind of help put forward on behalf of ALIA to actually see that that can happen, because it is really difficult when there isn't a policy or guidelines, not only from knowing that you're doing the right thing, but then also if something goes wrong, it often will get pinned back on you, not you as an individual, but that particular page or whatever's happened. So that's a really, really good point, Leanne. And it is very grey when it doesn't exist. But what we're hoping to achieve as well is giving a bit of a voice to ALIA and creating some overarching guidelines, because Ashley has sent through a few policies from different libraries and councils within the region that I've been working through with her as well, to just kind of create a generic set of best practice guidelines to submit back up to the council or to, you know, the government, whoever it is that's actually managing your region. But it's more specifically focused on like library social media best practice guidelines. So that way it should give you a little bit more structure and ability to say, look, this is best practice and we're following this, and kind of have those conversations to get that agreement happening, because it can be really, really grey when there isn't anything in writing, and the decision makers can change quite quickly. And one person has X idea and one person has Y idea, and what was right is now wrong, and vice versa. So I can absolutely understand that trickiness and frustration as well. Okay, cool. Well, what we'll do is we'll jump onto the next slide, and I've just put a couple of tips here and we can chat through them a little bit further. But basically a few of the things that, and this obviously comes down to as well where you sit within the library organisation and the wider organisation as well. So the first thing that I would definitely recommend doing is researching the council's marketing PR team or decision maker team. So I've just gone overarchingly, because obviously there are a lot of different I guess structures of libraries within Queensland and Australia. I'm based in Brisbane here, so yes, there's always different things happening. But one of the things is I've just overarchingly said marketing PR team. That can also mean decision-making team, because it may not be a fully fledged team. So if there is any way to research them and their goals, maybe having a look at the marketing strategies that are available on the intranets or on the different platforms that you guys have access to, and looking at what the the mission statements or the long-term, I suppose, goals of that particular region are, then you're able to sort of tailor your approach to that. So you can kind of say, well, one of the goals is community engagement. This is how our social media strategy for the library will fit into that X, Y, Z, and be able to give really specific and tangible knowledge to them based on your specialist knowledge as well. And it shows that you've actually heard them, listened to them, and then been able to interpret what they say, because it helps diffuse and break down some of those barriers. So I think the flip side of that would be approaching and saying, well, I want to do this because I just like doing it. I don't think anyone here would do that. But what that means is that they're going, well, no, you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't know why it would fit in, blah, blah, blah. So by actually understanding, and even if they don't have it available publicly, you could reach out to them and say, hey, look, guys, we'd love to understand what the goals are for the year, or what's your approach to this marketing channel, because I'd really like to work with you further. Which takes me to the next point, which is create a clear proposal. So building out some objectives and some clear things that you would like to achieve within the next month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it is, saying, you know, we've really noticed that X audience or X community within our area aren't being engaged. We'd like to talk to them and offer 1, 2, 3 type of programs or social media posts or, you know, services within the library. One of the other things you could sort of look at would be, over the next 6 months, our objectives as a library are to reach, you know, young people, mothers, let's say older community members, and these are the programs we're running. This is how it actually fits into your community goals for your marketing strategy for the year. These are the timelines that we'd like to post them, and then kind of have feedback on that. I guess leaning into that, the next one would be emphasize the value of libraries, which you absolutely all know, and that there is a community hub and how they play such a big supporting role in social inclusion and you know, literacy, education, everything, right? Like the libraries themselves are such a hub for the community, and really honing in on that, saying, you know, we want to provide value, we want to support your goals, reduce the amount of work that, you know, the council has to do, and really spotlight and highlight what a great community that we have. And this is how we can do it. So, okay, bringing it back into that proposal, really pushing that, you know, being able to give a voice to your community through the library, or, you know, give a voice to the authors, or give a voice to whoever it is going to add value back to the overarching government or decision-making group, or whoever it is that you actually need that approval from. Collaboration is a really good one. So if you're I guess, marketing team, and I'm going to say marketing team loosely because it's just the easiest sweeping term for this. If they kind of are not willing to give up control straight away, or if they're a bit nervous about that, having a collaboration between you guys, so saying, you know what, we'd love to do something. We'd love for you guys to give us some ideas, or let us support you and help you on this, or we can create content in the libraries and share it with you based on X, Y, Z, and just really showing that you can be a really good resource to them. And then hopefully in the next time that you want to do something, there's more trust built up and they can just go, you know what, yep, go for it. So I guess I'm going to skip over 5 and I'll come back to it. But that really takes us to 6, because they may not have a good response initially. There may be a pullback saying, well, that's not your job. We're experts. We've been trained in this, or we know what we're doing, X, Y, Z. That doesn't really mean that at the end of the day, they're going to be unable or unwilling to communicate with you guys and work with you directly on the next level, which could be that maybe in 3 months' time you have an opportunity to start doing the posting and managing the page yourself. But I think the biggest thing is showing that you can be of value, and actually showing how you can work with them, or I guess with them is the right answer for now, until you can actually step over and actually start doing it yourselves as well. So that brings me back up to 5, which is the building relationships. So trying to find within those I guess, decision maker groups, some people that you can start building those relationships with, whether by email, or coffee, you know, a Zoom meeting like this, and having those conversations saying, look, again, I've read all about your marketing strategy for the year, and I really love this, this, and this. And this is back to my compliment sandwich. I love this, this, and this. I have a lot of expert knowledge in this area, and I'd love to be able to share that, or we would love to be able to share that across the library program. And I think it would fit 1, 2, 3 of these goals that you have, and let's see how we can work together. And we'd love to collaborate with this on you, and we'd be able to produce, you know, a video of people in the library itself, or we'd be able to, you know, write some copy, like captions for the posts to do with the different timelines of a historical event around the state, and start to think about that sort of way to actually add value. So then you're really creating that trust, so you can actually pull back some of that control back into the libraries yourselves, and actually really have more ownership over the content that goes out. So hopefully that makes sense. At this stage, does anyone have any questions about how to do that, or what that looks like for you in terms of these particular steps? Oh, you're just on mute, Ashley.
If anyone has anything they'd like to add on any of the information we've heard so far, we'd also like to hear it. You guys are open to use the chat as well. I'll be reading it out for Ella to be able to see as well and respond to. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, so I guess I know this is a bit of just a very overarching, and no one approach will be the same from library to library. And that's something that I do acknowledge, is that every library will be different. Every structure is different as well. So I'm trying to kind of be broad while being specific, simply because, yeah, I know that you know, some of you are in small remote libraries, some of you are in like a bigger council libraries, some of you might be, you know, in one of the bus libraries. I'm so sorry, that's not the right name for it. I'm really sorry. but ultimately as well, you have experience and knowledge within your own area, which isn't necessarily the knowledge and experience of the people making decisions at the moment. So how do we communicate that? How do we make sure that they can see you and they can understand that at some point there should be trust? And back to Tony's question about, you know, I want to be able to share something on the fly as it's happening rather than wait a week to post it later, is building those relationships, that trust over time, and showing the value that you can add. So then when something does come, they go, you know what, Tony, we know you've got it, and just let you post it. That relationship can eventually happen. But it's about building that relationship first to actually see both sides of it.
We've gotten a nice comment from Michelle saying the information so far has been fantastic and really useful, which is very nice. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one of those things I'm like, you know, how long is a piece of string? Like, how far do we go with this conversation? Obviously knowing the time limits as well. And that is something as well in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, in the workshops 2 and 3, if there is something that I've touched on in these workshops, feel free to email Ashley and ask her, hey, can Ella comment on this, or can we talk about that? Because I'm more than happy to build them into those workshops, because realistically, these workshops are designed to be worked for you. So if there's information I'm giving you, like, you know what, that's too basic, I already know it, we can jump into another discussion instead as well.
Also adding comments on the ALIA Queensland Facebook or on our blog or Twitter, I am happy, like DMs on Twitter, I am happy to respond to as well, as we have our social media team of myself and other members of the committee also working on that. So if you have anything you'd like to add and don't feel comfortable emailing, or don't have our email or my email specifically, we have those other channels open for you guys to contact us through as well.
Yeah, sorry for throwing you under the bus.
Yeah. Oh no, this
just text her, DM her at any time of night. She loves it.
I'm more than happy to be the information person for this one as well. So yeah, if you guys have anything in this workshop or the next 2 that you want specifically to be focused on, I am happy to relay that information to Ella, and we can work on it to bring it in. So yeah.
Thank you. All right, I'll jump on to the next one. Obviously, coming back to this as well, if there's any comments throughout this conversation today too, just drop them in the comment box and we can revisit it. But you will get a copy of this too. And in terms of breaking down those questions as well, I can easily provide some examples of like email templates to start those conversations, if that helps too. So jumping across, what I'm going to start doing here is looking at how we can actually build these social media strategies so that we can actually present them to that marketing team or the PR team. And again, I know I'm oversimplifying it by just calling them marketing PR team, so bear with me, but it just makes it so easy, much easier for me to just communicate in terms of this conversation takes. There is so many layers. So one of the things that we would like to look at first is really, and I know you guys know this because you're day-to-day in the libraries, you're actually dealing with these people and working with these people in these communities, but it's understanding that target audience and really communicating it with those people that hold, I guess, decision-making skills. So it might seem obvious saying, oh, we work with younger communities, or oh, we work with elderly people, or we have, you know, young families, or we have migrants, or we have, multicultural communities that we want to assist in terms of coming to the libraries and reading these types of books, or young authors, or whatever it is, right? But actually building out a list of how you would identify these communities within your particular library, and also prioritizing at what times you'd be working with them, because the reality is there is a finite amount of time that any organization has. And while all communities need to be served, I absolutely agree with that. There may be times that, you know, there's a youth community that you're focusing an event on, so they may be the priority for that month, and the next month there's a family priority, or, you know, obviously tying it into, for example, Mother's Day is coming up next week. It's come soon. But, you know, how do we have book clubs for mums, or a mother's meeting club, or something like that? So understanding those target audience and building them out into your plan. So whether that's a written plan in a Word document or a PowerPoint slide, or if there's another area that you guys are able to communicate with people in, but really building out at what times in the year you have your overarching target audiences, but what times are you going to engage those target audiences through your social media campaigns? Because once that you start posting too much about everything all the time and having multiple campaigns, it can become a bit of a behemoth in itself. So obviously there'll be evergreen audiences and messaging that goes out from the libraries, but there will be times that you need to obviously have specific goals. And that again will help break down some of those barriers that you have with communicating with different decision makers in the organization, because they'll be able to see that there's a clear goal here and how can they support you with this. So it may even be that you say, look, we're going to be running a campaign, for lack of a better word, to engage elderly people to learn to read on their phones. And we want to communicate with them through social media so they can understand that they can still use technology. And we're going to be running that between June and July this year. These are the sorts of things we'd like to do. How can you help us? how can you get this to a broader community? Like, can this be shared on the council's page as well as our library page? What can we do to work together? Like, can we do a co-hosted community event, for example? So really having, I think this is the core of it as well, because you specifically work within communities, this idea of target audience is quite important and quite useful to help you in the language of communicating it up the chain. So have a think about that. If there's any questions at this stage about what a target audience is, please let me know. I think it's like, I guess if I haven't communicated correctly where that fits in, but I think having those campaign goals around the community members or the target audiences in this case will be quite useful to pass those messages up as well. So jumping further across again, we have our content pillars. So our content pillars are typically something like what specific messaging needs to get across to people. So it could be, we usually say 5 or 6 key pillars would be the way to go. And so these key pillars are types of communications that fall within a certain group or style of group. So one might be historical information about the library or about the community. Another one might be particular authors or genres or something. Another one could be perhaps events that are coming up. So basically what we look to do, and I'll skip forward, but we can skip back again, is we look to build out a content calendar over the course of the month that actually will have what are the posts, what are they, type, evergreen, event, tile posts, etc., and actually start building them through so that they have key pillars. And the reason why the pillars are useful is if, let's say we're posting 5 times a week and we have 6 content pillars or 5 content pillars, that means each post once a week would be about one of those things. So you can kind of start to work out a plan. It means there's no surprises for the people who are making the decisions of the page at this stage in terms of the type of content. And again, back to Tony's comment as well, is like, let's say one of the posts, one of the evergreen pillars would be, or not evergreen, sorry, one of your content pillars might be something like Community Tuesday, or, I mean, I've seen your Book Face Fridays. I don't know if everyone's doing them, but I absolutely love them. But those sorts of posts, obviously, once they are established in your content calendar, they can just start being shared more freely because it doesn't need to be an approval process once everyone's across the same page and there's a type of tone of voice that's being used or a type of language that's being used, which should allow us to, I guess, share more content more quickly. Because if they fit into these approved content pillars that have been, I guess, established in collaboration with the marketing team or the PR team or the council team or whoever the approver is, then we can actually start working through together. All right, cool. Well, this Friday, I know there's a Book Face Friday coming up. We're going to take a photo on the fly. Is that cool? And you're more likely to get a yes once it's all sort of structured and strategized together. So I'm going to jump back a slide so we can actually have a look at some of the evergreen content that we can look at. So obviously you won't always have something exciting happening every single day, which is where looking at stuff that we can fit into the content calendar or content schedule that we just know is going to get approved no matter what is always a good way to go. So I've put a few ideas in here, which is your staff picks, virtual book clubs, resources, interviews, photos, etc., which could be sort of factored into that content plan, submitted through to the decision maker of who is currently managing the page. And they can go, yes, 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 no, 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 this doesn't fit in, this does. But what that means is you've got kind of a bank of content that can go out any given day, really, that fits within that content plan that you've got. And then that live stuff, that stuff that's happening on the fly, can kind of fit within those extra pillars that are happening. So you could move a post to later in the month, or you could move a post to another week, for example, because you know it's going to stay evergreen if an emergency, not emergency, but an active or current post comes up. So I suppose in this, I didn't actually include the Book Face Friday, but look, as a human being, I'm obsessed with it. I think it's really creative. I absolutely love seeing that content. I know that does go really well. I've looked at a few of the social accounts for libraries in Queensland, but also overseas and, you know, in Australia as well. And that seems to be a post that everyone just loves. I think it's because it's really quirky. But further to that, there's obviously a lot of other options that you can do to engage those target audiences that we were discussing just earlier with the type of content you're putting out there as well. That's not pushing the boundaries. It's not going to cause anyone a heart attack by seeing it, which is great, because that means we're starting to build that trust with those decision makers that the content that's going out is absolutely reasonable. There's no reason for them to get weird or nervous or strange about you posting it. And then when you do have those ideas of things that come in that, you know, allow you to show your expertise or are on the go, like I'd say there's a celebrity that turns up and happens to sign the book that he wrote, I don't know, or she wrote, then you should be able to push that straight away, because they'll start having that relationship and trust in the regular style of content that you're posting, the tone of voice you're posting, and building that approval relationship process with them as well. So I suppose around this section, around the content pillars, building out a content calendar. So this is just a sample format of a content calendar. So realistically, this could be, and I'm not sure what content calendar approval process you have internally at the moment, but this could be easily just generated into a Word doc, submitted with a few caption ideas and a couple of post suggestions to the people approving. And I know that it was mentioned that there is usually a week approval process. If you could even potentially, and I know time is a real big luxury, but even if you could potentially build out a cut, like let's say 20 evergreen posts that can be scheduled in over the course of 1 to 2 months, then that can all be pre-approved. So then when those, I guess, fast-paced posts come out, they can kind of get shuffled down and it's not going to change any dates. This is a useful way of doing it. And if there is an existing approval structure or content calendar that is already set up within your organization, obviously fit into that. But if there isn't, and as I said, we'll send out the workshop slides of this afterwards as well. These sorts of approval calendars are really quite straightforward to approve, because people can see very quickly what date is it, what is it about, you know, what channel are you going to be posting it to, the copy, and the image or video link that's going to be shared as well. So sitting around here, I guess, does anyone have any questions, or is there any issues you can see with the way that this is structured that may be a challenge for you in your organization?
Or if there's anything you want us to re-go over or just reiterate in maybe different terms, we're happy to do that as well. So if there's anything that's been confusing so far, we'd be happy to also just go back over it as well. But yeah, anyone got anything to comment on, or anything that, yeah.
Not a big difference, but still need to review the
Yeah.
That's good to see.
So diving in here now, the next couple of slides are really quite broad in that they just give some overview, but social media channels, I'm very curious to see currently in this collective of people, what social media channels are you using? And I guess, what would you like to use? Is there any channels that aren't being used that I suppose you'd like to be able to experiment with or see how they work?
I know one thing that I talked about with Ella in a couple of our setup meetings was I was talking about TikTok, and how I've seen a lot of the American libraries using it and getting on the book talk trends.
Yeah.
And library talk trends really well. Like I think I talked about, there was this really fun trend over the last couple of weeks where libraries were half complaining, half highlighting just the massive amount of content that James Patterson has created. And just kind of like showing off their collection by showing off the just vast amount of James Patterson books and James Patterson Presents books that they have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd really love to see Australian libraries, if they could, be able to jump on those trends.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, even look, the only challenge I see to the TikTok trends is potentially our government's nervousness around TikTok and data.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Doesn't mean that we can't do it on Instagram Reels, for example. Like, there's still trending viral options for Reels. I have seen recently as well a big campaign going through the US called Let America Read Again. And they've been encouraging celebrities, because there's been book bans in certain schools across the US, which has been a really interesting, I guess, progression of how social media can be used, even in a library or book sense, to voice, you know, what's working, what's not working. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Ashley.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Tony's just asked, is there alternative channels to TikTok, given government aversion?
Yes. So one of the, I mean, I suppose it's not really an alternative, but one that does work is I guess using the Reels element of Instagram. So you can use hashtags and jump on things there. It's not as collaborative as TikTok, sadly, but definitely Instagram Reels are a really good substitute for that, which obviously is government approved. We have the same issue working with some of our government clients that, you know, the people in departments really, really want to use TikTok. There is still a big aversion. So you could still jump on the book talk trends, etc. But yes, yeah, absolutely, Michelle. Every channel is. I think that's mostly because Zuck wants to be every channel.
Yeah, we definitely have the YouTube Shorts as well. Would definitely be an alternative use of that.
Yeah, 100%.
We also have Leanne has added, I agree that it's very engaging as social media users to see libraries doing well in regards to social media trends with Instagram Reels and engaging in Bookstagram communities.
1000%. Yeah. So I mean, every single channel will have, and I did put TikTok in here, so I'm sorry if it gets you hyped up and we can't use it.
Even if you can't use TikTok, I definitely see a lot of how TikTok works in its short video format being very useful. But as Ella said, being able to port over to those Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and Facebook videos, which I know a lot of our libraries have Facebook accounts. So being able to engage with the videos would definitely be something, and have short engaging videos will be great.
Well, yeah, there's Facebook Reels as well. So you can definitely reuse or recycle the trends of TikTok into Facebook Reels. You know, and different communities engage with different channels, right? So what I'll do is I'll run through these 3 slides really, I wouldn't say quickly, but I'll run them through with you because it does give a breakdown of where the channels sit and like not necessarily how to use them, because that is definitely our second workshop, but we can definitely chat about that today anyway. I just obviously don't want to get information overload anyone. But I guess where they sit is, you know, the idea of Instagram is it's a curated showcase. So typically speaking and traditionally speaking, and that does change. I mean, obviously the one thing we have to understand about social media, which is the bane of my existence, is that it changes every other day, right? So by the time you get something that's in stone, you're ready to go, it's ticking all the boxes, the algorithm or the platform itself can change. However, typically speaking, the Instagram space is a curated showcase. So you can showcase collections of your library's book collections, like we could do, you know, different covers, things like that, or, you know, as Ashley mentioned, the A.B. Patterson stuff, like it really, not A.B. Patterson, sorry, that's a school, that is my mistake. You know what
James
I'm saying?
Patterson,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I think A.B. Patterson's named after James Patterson on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So like, that's not right. Sorry about that.
That's all good.
But yeah, so, you know, different showcase.
I don't normally have too much trouble.
Oh, sorry. Different case of individual books or particular collections of like faces of library or whatever it is. You can obviously use it to engage with your followers. The biggest benefit of Instagram is being able to use hashtags and get seen. So it does mean that you've got a broader reach. So you could say, you know, Brisbane community, Brisbane every day, like whatever the local hashtag of that region is, you can engage in that. So it means you get more reach. Facebook doesn't really allow for that as much, which is quite frustrating. So that is one benefit of using the Instagram platform quite heavily. If you have access to it, it can certainly give you a little bit more bang for buck, because I guess in terms of algorithm, Facebook's algorithm is designed to showcase human accounts, so individual people like you, me, yeah, Ashley, etc., over a business page, which a lot of your pages will be. And so what will happen is when you open up your feed, you'll see your friends' post first before you start seeing business accounts. Whereas Instagram, it doesn't have a prioritization of what type of account you see in your feed first, which is why a lot of small businesses or communities will use Instagram to reach their audiences when they don't have ad spend, because it means that they can actually get the same prioritization for the same amount of, I guess, bang for buck. So if the content's good, it gets seen basically. Whereas on Facebook, even if your content's amazing, it still will be deprioritized under the personal content. So unless you pay to play, it doesn't have as much reach. However, in saying that, we do find that Facebook is an informative arrangement, but also allows you to have more engagement one-on-one with those audiences. So, you know, obviously the Facebook groups and events are a fantastic place to be. So you can create, you know, events for different things coming up, which I'm sure you already are across and know about, but this would be the breakdown between those two, is creating, I guess, more of that one-way communication to some degree on Instagram. So sharing those videos, sharing stories, sharing information directly. And I know that the Library of New South Wales does an incredible job of this on Instagram. Their account is fantastic. Being able to share those things directly across with your audience on Instagram is great, but we do find Facebook is really useful in terms of, and also different audiences, like the older audience demographic do tend to gravitate a little bit more towards Facebook. That is changing. They are going to Instagram as well now, but definitely being able to share that information and get people to engage with you. So whether that's hosting a closed group and it's maybe a topic, for example, about, lovers of sci-fi, and sharing, weekly book clubs in there, and having like a virtual book club via a Facebook group would be great. Or it could be having an event set up in Facebook so people can respond and RSVP and sharing it that way. So, obviously there's benefits there. As I said earlier, though, the challenge is it doesn't get as highlighted, and hashtags don't tend to work as well on Facebook. So you don't get as much reach natively in the feed, typically speaking. I guess the final one was the TikTok space, which I know we may or may not be able to use, but this is what I'd call a playful broadcast, which I guess we can then bring back into YouTube Shorts or into Instagram Reels, or even Facebook Reels as well. So these are ones that are really awesome about short storytelling and engaging. I can see that there'll be a lot of opportunities for you guys to use these, whether it's different people within the library itself, the actual staff or team members, or it could be about the people coming into the library and why they're coming. It could be sharing information about books. It could be sharing information about authors. It could be anything really. And as long as it's fun, short, usually we look at like 15 seconds, 20 seconds for these videos, we can start to really capture people come in. And I guess the one benefit of using the TikTok approach to your YouTube Shorts or your Instagram Reels is that they don't have to be polished. Like previously, a lot of our video content, pre-COVID, was hyper polished, hyper edited, super clean and concise. Whereas now you can just pick up the phone and film yourself talking, and that is an acceptable form of media, and people enjoy seeing it that way. So I suppose there is a couple of different ways of looking at how you would do that and who you're sharing with. But I guess coming back to just our general social media channels, in terms of those 3 channels I've broken down, were there any other channels that you would like me to look at further into in like future sessions? Because I know that LinkedIn is obviously a big one, but it does audiences.
Some people have asked about Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. So Twitter is fantastic for sharing live updates, short content. So it'd be books, things like that. Hashtags do work there too. You would find that you'd probably get more niche audiences on Twitter. So really looking at short, punchy, to the point. It could be regramming stuff. It could be about new book releases, for example. That would be a really useful idea for Twitter, because that newsworthy space. YouTube, again, very useful. Whether you get the approval to share stuff there will be another interesting one, but I would look at YouTube for things like virtual story time. So you have an author coming in, being able to film it and sharing it directly there. Obviously the shorts, being that shorter video content, and also things that can be reused and rewatched. So information, learning, things like this, where it's a training, would be where I'd put on YouTube. I wouldn't, for example, put a video on YouTube that's just someone walking around a library picking out books. It's not really something that would be long term, and it wouldn't have a long life. Whereas on TikTok or Instagram Reels, you could have come follow me and pick out our top 5 books, because that content doesn't exist anymore. Like it stays in news cycle for about a day, maybe 2 weeks max. Stuff on YouTube, because of the way it's archived and libraried, it doesn't have the same lifespan, and it over time will become a little bit less interesting to watch.
A couple of people have also asked about LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, okay. So LinkedIn is one that may be interesting to see how your library uses it, in that typically it's considered a corporate space. So it would be useful to use LinkedIn to share things like, if you guys are hosting like a business networking event, that might be a useful thing to share on LinkedIn. You could be looking to share things like historical information on LinkedIn. It's certainly less fun. I guess the other stuff you could look to share there would be articles that you write, perhaps. So like more think pieces, more of that nonfiction, deeper stuff. So LinkedIn, I would likely see it being more of a corporate channel, which is why I've kind of left it off in this case, because it may be controlled more by that PR marketing team, in that it's really used more for business to business connections, rather than so much that community building. However, there are opportunities, as I said, like if you are looking to host like a monthly, or like if there's a group, for example, that hosts a monthly networking event in your library, definitely share it there. Health service don't necessarily have enough content to post 2 questions. So I'm just reading your question, Fiona.
Yeah.
I suppose for you actually might find LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Given that you're looking to find professional adults, I would say LinkedIn is a useful channel. You could also look at Facebook in terms of being able to host those events there. Like if you are having group events for that community, for that audience, being the health profession. One thing that I guess would be really interesting for you is you wouldn't need, I would recommend, look, my biggest thing is less is more. So keeping that evergreen content available to you, I'd still say posting a minimum of twice a week to Facebook. You could go once a week or once a fortnight to LinkedIn, because content frequency changes from platform to platform. You probably wouldn't need Instagram. You could use it if you had the visual content to share, because that's the challenge with Instagram, is that you do need some visual stuff. You can create title posts or carousel posts, which would share facts, which would be really useful if you had the time or space to do that. But I would be looking to keep it consistent and concise. So probably more of your LinkedIn and your Facebook, just in terms of hosting events and things, if that is something that your library does. And then sharing with that community stuff that's short, sharp, and to the point, with a link to something that has more information. So I guess because that way it gives people who are time poor a bit of an opportunity to actually go find that extra info themselves if it's available somewhere, which is where LinkedIn is quite useful, because you could write an article, for example, published directly to LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be linked back to the library's page. And so in the actual caption or body, it would have top 5 facts or top key points from the article itself. And in the article, you could break down that information further. Hopefully that answers your question. Perfect.
Awesome.
No, that was fantastic. So, sorry, go ahead, Ashley.
No, just wanting to check in with everyone, seeing if anyone else has any questions about any of the platforms that their library themselves uses, or ones that they potentially want to use for their libraries. If there's any questions about the schedule that we've seen, or what type of content you want to be posting, we'd love to hear those questions as well.
I guess one of the things I wanted to open sort of the end of this discussion up to, because we are ahead of time, which is amazing.
Yes.
But I guess what I would like to know is, because in our next workshop, we'll be talking really specifically about the types of content you're creating, when to post it, how to post it, etc. So it's really that more meaty stuff, which I haven't gone into too much today. But what I would really like for, if you're coming to our next, when you do come to our next one, is have a think about even the types of audiences. Like that was something we touched on, who those target audiences are. Have a think about what your loose, I guess, event strategy is over the next couple of months. Who are they talking to, so we can workshop those together. But I guess as well, but before we jump into that section next week or next fortnight, I'd really like to know now as well if there's anything that you specifically are having challenges with. Like, is it filming content? Is it creating content? Is it kind of like the things that you'd really like me to help break down for you and work through with you, so that when we come to session 3, which is really a hands-on, feedback, and I really would hope a collaborative conversation, because by speaking up and sharing your questions as well, other people would likely have those questions, or it could piggyback off a question like that too. That we can actually come together with a collaborative approach to it. So is there anything that you would like to see covered in these sessions that you haven't seen, or that I've touched on that you may want to elaborate a little bit further about?
So I have a question. I've just recently taken over doing the Facebook posts for our library in the last couple of weeks. What I've observed is that we don't have a very big following on Facebook. And so I'm trying to work out, how do I get people in? How do I, how do I increase my audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely go into that. Just out of curiosity, Chrissy, do you guys have any budget, or is it just the organic posts that you have availability to?
Pretty much just the posts. So we currently, I already have a calendar, a schedule, like you've recommended, so that part's good. but we're just making posts about events and, interesting things that are happening, or book features, that sort of thing. So just trying to look at how do we
get people to start engaging.
So I've started putting up a few posts about, like conversation starters. Tell us about a funny book that you've read, or those sorts of things, to try and get people in. But I'm not sure how many people are actually even seeing our posts at the moment.
Yeah, which is really, really hard. I suppose. Does the are you in a council library, or?
Yes.
Does that do you know if the council have any because one thing that's really a good way to go is chat to that team to see if they can allocate any boosting budget, so you can reach the audience that are interested in seeing those posts. So it's like usually you could say $5 a post max, and you could say, can we please have $50 a month, which really shouldn't stretch the budget for them, to target those particular audiences straight off the bat, because that just gets them seeing your organic content, engaging with it. The other things you could look to do would be engage communities. So like, let's say there's like Mother's Day is coming up, for example. I know we touched on this, but create five book covers of mum's favorite books or something, and get the kids to color them in, and then enter them for a chance to win, right? And the winner is that they get featured in the library, hung up on the wall or something.
Cool.
So you know what I mean? Like, just trying to find ways to actually ask people to engage with you. I know it's hard when there's no budget. It is very tricky. Polls are another really good one as well. So option A or B, and getting them to vote. You could tie things in. One of the big things is being timely, and it can be a bit cheeky too. So whether that's state of origin related stuff, so find a New South Wales author and a Queensland author, and like back to back them. So like do your own state of origin with books. So things like that make people, they have to like, and it could be if you're a New South Wales supporter, like this. If you're a Queensland supporter, love this, because obviously they're blue and red, so that at least shows the colour. So doing those sorts of like little forced engagement where it's a little bit spirited will help get that reach out. But yeah, as I said as well, I can imagine it's frustrating because it is challenging on Facebook in that it's almost pay to play a lot of the time, in terms of the way the algorithm's fed. So it's the personal accounts before the business accounts, which is what the library page would be. Have you guys got like a group at all? Like, because that always gets a lot more engagement than the page. It is hard because it's obviously private.
No, I don't think we do. I think we just post to different community groups if we've got something relevant to that area, because we have 5 different branches in different areas. So, something's hosted over here at this branch, then we'll post it to that community events page, that sort of thing, but not really any groups of our own.
Yeah, because that could be something to look at, would be creating like a book club, for example, which is really low maintenance in terms of management of the actual posting. And encouraging community members to share their topics each month. That would again increase the profile of the library page itself, but also with the way the feed works is if you're in a group, you might get more notifications from it. So that should help bolster some of that reach in that page.
Great. There's some great ideas. Thank you.
No, that's okay. But I will include some more of that for the next one as well, specifically looking at Facebook, because I know that's a place that everyone has a lot more access to as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we've got one question here. Thank you, Chrissy. We've got one question here from Rhonda. I would like to know what your advice would be for adding copyright to posts and accessibility to images.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the copyright, I suppose one of the big things is always trying to find, well, firstly, asking the original owner before posting anything. So if it is a family member or of the community, if you can find the original person, asking for their permission to firstly share it before sharing it to social media, and then also adding an acknowledgement of copyright at the bottom of the image as well. So in the caption, copyright to whoever it is. Also putting a note on there as well to share it. Actually, I'm just going to mute for a second because there's a bit of background noise.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. So adding it either to the image itself, finding out who the original copyright belonged to, and finding out from them how they want it to be done. So whether it's in the photo or image, having a little copyright disclaimer at the bottom, or if they're a little bit more comfortable, flexible with it not being there, if it's a council, for example, that owns it, adding the copyright into the caption itself. As long as you've got approval for copyright to share it, then you should be fine. That's where it comes down to, because once someone else shares it after you, it's kind of not really your fault that that's happened. In terms of the closed captioning as well, I'd always recommend adding at the bottom an image description. So you can do that on Instagram. There's actually an option to add alt text, but on Facebook, I'm fairly sure there is, but if it doesn't come up straight away, you can add the image alt text at the bottom. And I do recommend doing that in the caption itself, which explains the image if it's a photo, so people can see it further. With videos, a lot of the time on Facebook, you can auto caption them. It will pick up your audio yourself and it will caption them. You can go through in the actual editor on Facebook and edit the captions if they've misspelt things, or if certain words that have been missed or maybe misheard. So that's actually a really good function of Facebook. It is automatic, and the same with Instagram too. If you're filming a reel, there is an option to select closed captions, and you can just have the captions pop up on the screen too. Hopefully that answers that one.
Yep. And Peggy asked, how many channels should we use, as we may not be able to use every channel? Should we stick to 2 or 3? And also, if we have several channels, such as Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook and LinkedIn, should we post the same content each time to every channel to keep it consistent, or would we change the content?
So typically speaking, it depends on the size and resources of your team. That's obviously the first part of it. I'm a big believer in less is more, right? So having a couple of really consistent channels is better than having dead channels, in my opinion. So the best thing is, I guess, and also coming back to that double sharing of content, it can work. So what we typically do, if our clients, for example, have a small budget and we need to post content consistently for them, is we'll schedule content to Instagram and duplicate that content to Facebook, however, changing, so it might be the same image, for example. We would change the call to action, we'd change the language slightly, so where it might be more chatty on Instagram, it's got a little bit more information, or a link, for example, on Facebook. So it's a similar content, but it is adjusted to the platform. So it's not so much more work in terms of thinking of a new post every day, but it is giving content specific, I guess, channel specific content to that channel as you need it. So, you know, two or three channels would probably be reasonable to manage. LinkedIn, I do treat differently. So again, same thing though, like if I've got an image, let's say of a historical thing, right? Let's say it's a photo of your local community from 1950s. The caption for Instagram might be something like, whoa, look at this flashback, a bit more chatty. Where do you reckon this is? Blah, blah, blah. Facebook might be, you know, hashtag Flashback Friday. What an amazing community. Here's a link to some information about what the community looked like back then. Maybe it's a website page link, etc. LinkedIn might have the same photo and it might be, did you know in the 1950s, XYZ happened? This is a really cool insight by blah, blah, blah. And so it's just changing the tone slightly, providing relevant information for that channel, but recycling that same message so it doesn't create more work for you. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep, and we just have one more. I would love to hear a more strategic unpacking of the idea of using LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And do you have any thoughts about other vocational groups that other libraries could target?
Like
such as tradies, yeah.
1,000%, yes, yeah. And yeah, for the next one as well, because the next one we are breaking down the channels specifically. So I will include LinkedIn there and put some information in there about how to reach them, where to reach them. I mean, tradies probably won't be a LinkedIn audience necessarily, but we could look at how to target them on Facebook and get them in, you know, for, I mean, we're not eating meat pies in the library, but for something. And again, yeah, really looking at that. And I suppose also one of the big things that we haven't spoken about is collaborations with other departments. And I will touch on that for the next course as well, because that will be something that really helps organically leverage your reach outside of just that community space. So let's say, for example, the health related libraries, teaming up with the Department of Health and getting involved in like what their campaigns are and having them reciprocate and share use. So like if you're tagging them on social media saying, you know, we're loving National, I don't know, Breast Cancer Awareness Week, here are 10 books about boobs, obviously, or breasts, boobs, whatever. But you know, you're tagging them and then they're going to share it saying, hey, get on board with the book wagon over at this library because they've got super like amazing resources, or reaching out to, you know, for example's sake, Tony, Trademark, which is a non-profit, or semi-for-profit, but it's a mental health group for tradies, and saying to them, hey guys, we'd love to have you guys pop in and, you know, do a collaboration with you. And if you can get that approved, and this is where it comes tricky, because obviously you need to get the approval within your own department and government as well, but doing collaboration with them where you're getting the reach of like a community organization there that obviously aligns, and getting them to come in to check out your stuff as well, and getting those reciprocal tags, that will really help get that reach out there and get that community engagement back in the libraries as well.
I definitely see a lot of people talking about that accessibility thing. So maybe having in those little platform breakdowns, maybe having a small section to show where we can find the alt text,
Yeah.
where we can find the other places to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll pop some screenshots in there for you guys, because there are some options to put alt text in some of the posts. And yes, we'll have a look at if they're not showing up in there, because basically that's the one thing that does happen with our beloved Instagram and Facebook, is they trial run stuff on some account and not to others. And it can take, you know, 6 to 12 months before it even shows up on the account that you're managing and everyone else has it. I mean, music was a big one for Instagram, where I had access to music and a lot of people didn't. It's just the way that they beta test. It's a nightmare. But there are workarounds.
Yeah. One thing from Hannah is I would love to hear more about sourcing general and industry specific, in quotations, library stats for comparisons, baselines, and measuring effectiveness of social campaigns.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Yeah, I have been doing some research as well from external libraries in the US, what their stats look like too. So that's something for the next session as well. And the reason why I've kept this session really, really broad, I know it's not super information intensive, is that I did want to understand what you needed, because Ashley and I were talking, I'm like, how long is a piece of string? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
I can talk about anything all day, but what is it that you guys actually need to hear? And obviously, again, we are all time poor, so I'm not going to just sit there and go, okay, cool, this is how we film a TikTok. This is me talking. Like, it's not easy. So thank you so much for sharing this as well.
Yeah, this has been really great with all the engagement. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, but it seems everyone's very interested in seeing just how all of this works.
Amazing.
And stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's everything so far. Does anyone have any other questions or commentary that they'd like to add? I'd just like to point out other issues to accessibility beyond alt text would include flash warnings. Yep, looking into the use of color with regards to captions and reels, and how that might impact the visual impairments.
Yeah, absolutely, because that is something that we do talk about with certain accounts that we manage, because we do work with some disability groups as well. And yeah, it's a big one, is obviously like some people having the white writing on a white background, not going to work. So I can definitely go into some of that color theory as well as part of our next conversation.
That would be really awesome.
Really great point from Hannah there about stats. I mean, libraries are very aware of metrics, and any guidance you have on, you know, pre-testing, post-testing ways of measuring effectiveness would be useful.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the few, I suppose one of the challenges of social media from an organic point of view is measuring ROI, because obviously we don't have the same opportunity to confirm conversions as a paid ad would, for example. But there are some ways to look at what the engagement and I guess engagement stats are, which really will prove, I guess, ROI in that respect. And that's really what we're looking for libraries in particular, is that we've got an engaged community and they're liking XYZ posts, or they're commenting, or they're sharing. And there's different metrics as well, as like, you know, a save and a share are a higher value metric than a comment, because that's someone who wants to come back to it or is sharing this to someone else. So we can look at that hierarchy too.
Yeah, and a lot of this, I know it will be different for everyone's different libraries. One of the things I'm really happy to see today is people talking about all the different types of libraries that we have in our community, and how each social media is different in terms of value for each of them, which has really been great. So yeah, so I definitely see the next couple of workshops being just looking at the value of these social medias and everyone building their own, again, best practices guide, because we know each library, your best practices are going to be unique. And while a lot of things will look similar, everyone is going to be different for the content you want to post out, the engagement you want. So yeah, that's one of the things we really wanted to talk about, is knowing that each library is unique, but wanting you guys to have your baselines to be able to work through this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that's a big point as well, Ashley, is like these best practices are best practices. Like they're not set in stone. They're not going to be like, they're not concrete in that if you look different to this, you're not doing the best practice. But they are more of a tool to help you support conversations that you're having to actually get authority and, I guess, ownership of your pages, because that is really what seems to be the biggest challenge here, is that you do know what's best for your community in terms of the way you communicate with your library community and the specialist knowledge you have. But unfortunately, we do all exist within a hierarchy, and being able to communicate that effectively, to have advocates for you within the wider organisation or within the wider council or government department that you work within will really, really help you strengthen that relationship you have with the audience, and then achieve those massive wins, you know, the viral wins and things like that, because you have more freedom to create what you need to create to serve your audience. Cool. So, I mean, I'm happy to give everyone a bit of an early mark if you'd like.
Yeah, I am too. If there's nothing anyone else would like to add, comment on, talk, but it seems, I think everyone's pretty happy. If everyone else is all right with it, I think we can wrap up a little bit early.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. And yes, I've actually downloaded your chat notes as well, so I will be able to add them all into the next session. But as Ashley and I mentioned as well, feel free to put stuff through to the ALIA group. Any extra questions as well, anything specific you would like me to have a look at, we'll start really breaking it down in a very meaty session next time as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and you guys, everyone who's signed up, I will be sending the PDF and everything that Ella sends me, like templates and stuff, through to them so they can be sent out to you guys. And we will see you guys in a fortnight. Again, if you have any questions or anything you want commented on, I will also put my email in that information to be sent out. So you guys can email me or email ALIA Queensland or the groups, and they can send that along to me. And I hope to see you guys all in a fortnight.
Fantastic.
Silly question, Ashley. Is registration for all 3 sessions, or it is? Cool. So we don't need to re-register.
Yes, if you've registered now, you've registered for all 3 sessions. Registration is opening back up again for those who haven't. So if you want to see if you can get your friends involved or get some more co-workers to sign up for the next 2 sessions, we will be reopening registration for that, so they can come in. And yeah.
Yeah, again, I guess the other thing as well is if this session that in this session, we've obviously had a chat about some challenges and things, feel free to ask your co-workers or teammates or other people involved in that social media space for you, what challenges they're having or how they're experiencing issues as well, or particular things they need to know, and take that back through to us, and we'll be able to include that as well. So even if they missed out on this one, they don't get no voice. They're obviously very welcome to share their questions too.
Exactly. So yeah. Thank you everybody for coming, and thank you again for Ella to being the rock star that you are, for saying yes and doing these with us. It means the world, and I know everyone here is really grateful to having an expert like yourself come on to talk about this. Yeah.
I mean, any information I can share, let me know. I mean, I know today I've given you a very broad overview, but I'm like, I just don't want to assume what you do and don't want to hear. So thank you for spending the time with me and just giving me some stuff as well, because obviously we've got a rough structure for next week. Next fortnight, but being able to include next week is a little bit more for you guys would be great.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, and we will hopefully see everyone in a fortnight. And yeah, thank you again.
Fabulous. Thanks.
But yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a very good afternoon. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.